Witches throughout history have been both feared and revered. They have been the subject of countless stories, myths, and legends, and have been depicted in literature, art, and film in a multitude of ways. In Shakespeare's Macbeth, three witches known as the Weird Sisters play a pivotal role in the tragic events that unfold. They prophesied Macbeth's rise to power, but their ambiguous predictions ultimately lead to his downfall. In Roald Dahl's The Witches, the titular characters are depicted as evil beings who seek to rid the world of children by turning them into mice. The book is a dark and twisted tale full of Dahl's trademark humour and wit. In the works of J.R.R. Tolkien and C.S. Lewis, witches are often depicted as powerful and mysterious beings who can manipulate the forces of nature and cast spells to achieve their goals. They are often portrayed as both good and evil, with the line between the two often blurred. In Dennis Wheatley's The Devil Rides Out, a group of characters must confront a coven of witches who are attempting to summon the devil. The book is chilling and suspenseful, the tale of occult horror full of Wheatley's trademark attention to detail and historical accuracy. In the film The Wicker Man, a police officer investigates the disappearance on a remote Scottish island, only to uncover a sinister cult of witches who worship the pagan gods. The movie is a haunting and atmospheric exploration of ancient pagan traditions and the clash between the old and new beliefs. Throughout history, witches have been the subject of persecution and fear, but they have also been celebrated as powerful and independent women who defy societal norms. From the witches of Salem to the broomstick-riding crones of folklore, the world of witches is full of mystery and intrigue and continues to captivate audiences to this day. Circe is a character from Greek mythology who is often depicted as a powerful witch or sorceress. She is said to be the daughter of the sun god Helios and a nymph named Persea. In Homer's epic poem, The Odyssey, Circe is depicted as a beautiful and alluring woman who has the power to transform her enemies into animals. She is said to have turned Odysseus' men into pigs when they landed on her island, but she later falls in love with Odysseus and transforms them back. Circe is also known for her ability to use magic to control the minds of others. She is said to have used her power to force Odysseus to stay on her island for a year, during which time they became lovers and had a son. In other versions of the myth, Circe is portrayed as a more malevolent figure who uses her powers to harm and manipulate those around her. She is said to have turned her own husband into a pig and to have transformed sailors into monsters and sea creatures. Despite her reputation as a witch and a sorceress, Circe is also seen as a tragic figure in Greek mythology. She is said to have been ostracized by her family and her people because of her powers, and to have lived a lonely and isolated life. Overall, Circe remains one of the most fascinating and complex figures in Greek mythology. Her story has been retold and reimagined in countless books, plays, and movies, and she continues to captivate the audience with her mysterious and alluring character. Morgana Le Fay, also known as Morgane Le Fay, is a character from Arthurian legend who is often portrayed as a sorceress or enchantress. She is said to be the half-sister of King Arthur and is often depicted as a powerful and dangerous figure. Morgana is said to have studied magic in Avalon, a mystical island associated with the Arthurian legend. She is said to have learned her craft from a number of powerful witches and sorceresses, and was known for her ability to cast spells and manipulate reality. In many versions of the legend, Morgana is depicted as a villain working against Arthur and his knights. She is often seen as a rival to Merlin, the great wizard and advisor to King Arthur. Some versions of the legends also suggest that Morgana had a romantic relationship with Arthur, and that she may have been responsible for his downfall. She is said to have played a key role in the events leading up to the Battle of Camlann, which was the final battle in the Arthurian legend. Despite her villainous reputation, Morgana has also been portrayed as a sympathetic character in some versions of the story. she is sometimes seen as the victim of circumstances, forced to use her power for evil by the pressures of her situation. Overall, Morgana Le Fay remains one of the most popular and enduring figures in the Arthurian legend. Her story has been retold and reimagined in countless books, movies, and television shows, and she continues to captivate audiences with a mysterious and enigmatic character. The story of the Witch of Endor comes from the Bible, specifically the first book of Samuel in the Old Testament. According to the story, King Saul of Israel was facing a Philistine army and was filled with fear and despair. Seeking guidance and advice, he consulted the prophets and priests, but none were able to give him a clear answer. Desperate for help, Saul turned to a woman known as the Witch of Endor. She was said to be a practitioner of dark magic and was known for her ability to communicate with the dead. Saul disguised himself and went to the witch in secret, asking her to summon the spirit of the prophet Samuel to speak to him. The witch performed the ritual, and to Saul's amazement, the spirit of Samuel appeared before him. Samuel prophesied that Saul would be defeated in battle and that he and his son would die. Despite the dire news, Saul was grateful to have received a message from the prophet, and he returned to face the Philistines with renewed determination. Despite the prophecy given by the spirit of Samuel, Saul still went to the battle against the Philistines. The battle took place at Mount Gilboa, and according to the Bible, Saul and his son were killed in the fighting. In the aftermath of the battle, Saul's body was mutilated and his head was cut off. The Philistines hung his body on the walls of a nearby city, where his head was placed in the temple as a trophy. Saul's remaining men fled the battlefield and went into hiding. The story of the Witch of Endor is often cited as an example of divination or necromancy, which are practices that involve communicating with supernatural entities or the dead. The story has also been interpreted as a cautionary tale about the danger of seeking out dark magic and the potential consequences of such actions. The Bell Witch is a well-known legend from American folklore that dates back to the early 19th century. The story centers around the Bell family who lived in Adams, Tennessee in the early 1800s. According to the legend, the family began to experience strange and terrifying events in their home, including unexplained noises, objects moving on their own, and physical attacks on family members. The disturbances were said to have been caused by a witch who was believed to have been responsible for the death of John Bell, the patriarch of the family. The story of the Bell Witch was first recorded in the 1890s in a book called An Authenticated History of the Famous Bell Witch. The book was written by Martin Van Buren Ingram, a newspaper editor who had heard the story from his grandmother, who claimed to have known members of the Bell family personally. According to the legend, the Bell Witch made her presence known by making strange noises in the Bell family's home, such as knocking on doors and walls and even speaking to family members. The witch was said to have been particularly fond of John Bell's daughter, Betsy, and would often torment her by pulling her hair and scratching her skin. The witch was also said to have the ability to shapeshift into various animals, such as a black dog and a giant bird. Over time, the disturbances became more and more intense, and the Bell family began to fear for their lives. They sought the help of the local authorities, who investigated the strange events, but were unable to explain them. The Bell Witch continued to torment the family for years, until John Bell died in 1820. According to the legend, the witch claimed responsibility for his death, then disappeared. The legend of the Bell Witch has been subject of numerous books, movies, and TV shows over the years, and has become a popular topic among paranormal enthusiasts. While there is no concrete evidence to support the existence of the Bell Witch, the legend has endured for nearly 200 years and remains fascinating and terrifying part of American folklore.